Welcome to the Sexy and Sacred Show with Sage and Steve, where sexuality, sensuality, and spirituality meet to help you create a blissful relationship that enhances your spiritual path and raises your love vibration for personal and planetary transformation. Welcome to the premiere episode of the Sexy and Sacred Show. I'm Steve Gibbs.
And I'm Sage Taylor Kingsley.
We're very excited to be sharing with you tips, tools, and teachings designed to help you create your best relationship ever and to live a more heartful spiritual life full of more love and more pleasure and more joy.
So who is this program for? This is for you if you're single, partnered, or anywhere in between, especially if you want to experience your intimate relationship as a pathway to spiritual awakening and personal growth, as well as dial up your sex life to a level 10.
Yeah, beyond level 10.
That's true. We're like, I don't know, we can't count that high. And I just want to add that neither of us are spring chickens. Or as Steve likes to say, this isn't our first rodeo. So we're not here to just brag about like, oh, how lucky we are and how often and how well we're getting laid. You know, there's plenty of people doing that kind of out there these days. But you might hear some juicy details about that. But the point is, we didn't just luck into love at this level. Manifesting love like this requires a certain degree of work, inner healing, alignment, discernment, communication, and much, much more, really.
Sexual is not the opposite of spiritual, by the way. What if you could have a relationship and a life where you joyfully experience pleasure and enlightenment? This is sexy and sacred, and this is what this show is all about.
Exactly. So we're going to be talking about sex, you guys. We're going to be talking about spirituality. We might use some F-bombs. We may get really graphic.
Yum.
If you're super prudish, maybe this isn't the show for you. Or I don't know, maybe they really need it. Maybe they really need it. And we're going to be talking about law of attraction and manifestation and womanifestation and how you can really honor and express and celebrate masculine and feminine energy in yourself and in your partner. We're going to be talking about divine union and soulmates and twin flames and all of that good stuff. Chakras, meditation, tantra, sex magic, and really how you can open your heart so you can live as the love that you truly are and that you came here to be. I guess ultimately you could say we're here to be sharing with you about conscious dating, mating, and relating. I'm a little bit of a poet and I know it, so I like to rhyme a lot.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, I write a lot of erotic as well as mystic poetry. Well, I'll share some with you. But I like to think of a conscious sacred relationship as really an ElationShip, which means that it's a vessel for incredible bliss and happiness and ecstasy. So welcome to your ElationShip, you guys. This is what you're here for.
Amen. This lady next to me here, her wisdom and her ability to create massive amounts of poetry, massive amounts of love and joy that flow through her, just had to be shared with the world.
Thank you. So I want to jump in here, you guys, because I want to introduce you to one of the most wonderful men on the planet. He's also pretty humble. So I'm going to have the opportunity to rave about Steve, my life partner, and the Sexy and Sacred Show co-host, Steve Gibbs. Yay!
Thank you.
Oh my God. And Steve is such an embodiment of healthy masculinity. He's incredibly heart-centered, creative, and compassionate, and a really compassionate and passionate being. And I get to be the beneficiary of some of that passion. But, so what else about Steve's background that might be helpful for you to know? He's an award-winning master photographer. He's a sound healer, a drummer, a drum maker, a drum teacher. I don't know about you, but I love a man with good rhythm. Don't you, ladies? This man has rhythm, you know what I'm saying? And the man's hands, too, he can do anything. I mean, anything with his hands. I think of him as a sexy MacGyver, if you remember the TV show. So we're kind of dating ourselves here that we know MacGyver. And Steve is trained. He's got a lot of, different trainings, Silva method, science of mind, energy field massage, Reiki, money Reiki. And one of the things I love is that he's attended the Human Awareness Institute workshops on sexuality and intimacy since, what was it, like
1999.
1999.
Long time ago.
Yeah, that's more than a couple weeks ago, you guys. He's also been a really active practitioner of law of attraction, as I have, and particularly the teachings of Abraham Hicks. And he used those methods to manifest me, and I used my own methods to manifest him. So, Steve, I just want to thank you for all of the healing that you facilitated for so many women. I know you're going to share a little bit more with us about that. And I want to thank you for all the beauty that you create in the world and in my life.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Boy, what am I supposed to say here? I tell you. It makes me cry just hearing you talk
heart.
that.
He's crying, you guys. It's so sweet.
For me, hearing her say that, the first thing that I come to is like, oh, but I haven't done that much, blah, blah, blah. But yet, when we get talking and sharing, there is deep wisdom that comes out of me that kind of is surprising to me. And I know some of this a lot of it comes beyond me. This is my higher self. For me, it's a minor thing. For Sage, it's way beyond where I'm at. I'm just completely
it's minor
in
for
awe.
you live it. You just embody it in a much more like inherent way, like you live spirituality in like everything that you do. You just might not be like as like verbal or like extroverted about it as me, but it's very real
true.
For you.
That's
I just
true.
want to point
Okay,
that out.
I'll own that.
Good for you.
I want to introduce to you the love of my life, Sage Taylor Kingsley. To say that Sage is an embodiment of the goddess of love may sound like an exaggeration, but you'll see why I say that. Sage has been teaching, healing, coaching, creating courses, leading retreats about spirituality, self-love, intuitive development, conscious relationships to tens of thousands of people since 1994. She co-created a sexy board game for couples that Playboy called the best romantic board game ever made.
Woohoo!
And I've seen it. It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty
I still
sexy.
can't believe she actually did that.
It's like a foreplay game. Woo!
She was voted #1 law of attraction teacher worldwide by people in 18 countries. And she's also a clinical hypnotherapist, ordained interfaith minister, Reiki master and teacher, and money Reiki grandmaster. Sage experienced a shamanic initiation in 1994 with 3 near-death experiences that blasted open her third eye and inner ear, and serves as a channel of Archangel Michael and the Divine Mother. She's also a best-selling author, professional book editor, and mystic poet and erotic poet. Well, an erotic everything. But lucky us, we're going to hear some of her sexy poems here as well.
Thank you, Steve. You help inspire a lot of these sexy poems, so we got to give some partial credit to you. I was looking through literally hundreds of poems. I've received over 1,200, I think, poems in the last 3 years. And this is the one that jumped out as perfect to share with all of you. So here comes the poem. And what I want to invite you all to do is, if you can, maybe even pause and give yourself the opportunity to really receive this as not just words, but as an energetic and vibrational alignment. This is going to help reset your mindset and really open your mind and your heart and attune your energy to the energy of higher love and sacred partnership. Here is the poem called The Divine Union. The sacred masculine holds the feminine, provides, preserves, protects, uses his strength and might for good, for God, for partnership, purpose, and planet. He is her son. The sacred feminine inspires the masculine, feels, reveals, heals, uses her sensual power for good, for goddess, for creation, relation, and elation. She is his moon. If you have done and are willing to keep doing the inner work, and if the gods and goddesses of love smile brightly upon you, you may find a love like this, perhaps once in a lifetime. And when you do, part of you will feel terrified. The remedy to fear is to love more, love harder, love softer, love deeper, love wider. The medicine to your feelings of unworthiness is to let yourself receive holy adoration from your beloved, for she or he is the embodiment of God, goddess. The divine union is the greatest accelerator for your soul's evolution, for your heart's expansion, for your earthly enrichment, for your mind's empowerment. There is no room here for hiding or hesitation or halfway. There is only desire and delight, discovery and devotion.
Wow. We invite you to take a moment to really breathe that in, really feel this level of love is not only possible for you, it's already here. It's what you attract because it's who you are together.
Thank you for allowing us to share that with you. So, you might be wondering about our love story a little bit. I know I always love to hear a good love story, especially a true love story that's better than Hollywood could ever come up with. And you might be wondering, like, why does the world need another podcast on love, sex, and relationships? So in this first episode, we really want to give you a good broad picture of what this is about. Steve and I are committed to living and to serving as an example of hot monogamy. And the thing is, commitment and being with one person in exclusivity is not a prison. It's not limiting you. It's actually enabling you to go deeper and higher. And no offense to the people who are in the polyamorous community, that's fine, to each their own. But for us, we believe that monogamy and exclusivity and really committing and being devoted to one person allows you to go deeper and higher rather than just wider, if that makes sense. And this is true at any age and any stage of relationship. So we're in our 50s, late 50s and 60s. And so this is not going to be the same podcast that you would experience or the same wisdom from someone in their 20s or 30s. So we are wanting to really inspire you and show you that you can have passion no matter what age you're at, and no matter how many experiences you've had or what they have been like. So we're here to really present to you sacred partnership, conscious loving and living, how relationship and how life can be experienced more mindfully, more heartfully, more gratefully. And I know that Steve wants to really bring, and I do too, but he's like a super, super strong advocate for this entire experience and all that we do together individually and collectively, and here with all of you across time and space, because there are no limitations of time and space, right? That we are here to raise the love vibration of the planet. And that's done. It starts with you. It starts within you. It starts in your home and in your relationships. whether that's your marriage, your friendships, your family relationships. And from there, it radiates outward like concentric circles and spheres of ever expanding love and light and truth and beauty and bliss. And that is what we're here about. So we are a community of love. And that's one reason that we also created a Facebook group recently. By the way, those of you who are Facebooky, I'm pretty Facebooky. Steve is moderately Facebooky. I'm pretty Facebooky. Some of you guys might know. And it's called Sexy and Sacred Community. So that's a place where you can also connect with us and with other people on this path of sacred partnership. So I'd like to take a moment to share with you my side, so to speak, of our amazing true love story. I know that throughout my life, whether I've been partnered or single, I'm kind of a romantic. And I think you are too, Steve. And I'm someone to whom love matters. And my first poem I wrote when I was 9 years old. And my first song was about love when I was also 9 years old. So I'm kind of a love-focused person. And Steve is going to share his side of the story too. And I am really, really grateful for all the relationships that I've had, for everything that I've learned from various partners. And my sexuality and my romantic life started kind of in my mid-teens. And I had a marriage in my 20s. I'm still friends with that ex-husband as well. Very cool guy. But we, grew apart. There are reasons that it completed. And then when I was going through kind of an experimental stage, I've been with women as well as men. I've had group sex. Was once with a man who was twice my age. I was 28 and he was 56. At the time, 56 seemed really old. It doesn't seem old now. But I was open to just exploring my sexuality in all sorts of ways. And then at some point, I had the spiritual awakening that Steve mentioned in the Mexican desert with an unexpected shamanic initiation, complete with 3 near-death experiences and miracles and an angel encounter. And that in itself would be the subject of, several podcasts. So I'll just mention it now. And then about the same time, I realized that I had a very clear, consistent, direct connection to Source, God, Spirit, whatever word you want to use there. And the first thing I asked once I realized, hey, somebody's actually listening and actually cares, and I can hear to some degree some answers here. The first thing I asked was, how can I find my soulmate? And 400 pages came out. 400 pages came out. It took about 3 weeks, and I was like nonstop writing. And the first of the words that I wrote were the 4 steps to manifest higher love. And then there were 4 steps listed. And if you're curious what those 4 steps are that I've successfully used not once but twice to manifest an incredible soulmate into my life, I will be happy to share those with you in a later show. And that first time that I applied that, I manifested a partner who became my husband of 23 years, and we're still really, really good friends, and the father of my 2 children. And he was absolutely a soulmate and a mind mate and a heart mate, but not really a body mate. So be careful what you ask for, because the universe will bring it to you, right? I was asking for a soulmate, but I forgot to mention the body mate part. So we parted ways with conscious uncoupling, and I'm grateful for everything that we experienced. But what happened as a result of sexual incompatibility is that my sexual self, and this is the woman who had created the passion play game. This is the woman who had a lot of passion and sexual explorations in my 20s and 30s. Basically, my sexual self in that marriage went into a coma. And she almost died. And it was really a stage of grief where I felt less alive. I felt less juicy. I felt less feminine. And I was even crying on the phone to one of my girlfriends that I felt like that sexual self was dead. And she said, Sage, honey, she's not dead. When you find the right partner, she can come back to life. And maybe you can help her come back to life on your own as well, which I did with tantric exercises that I'm going to be sharing with you about how to heal your yoni. That's the Sanskrit word for vulva, by the way. More on that later. But I reached this point where I went into a deep grief about having lost a very important part of me, my sexual self, which is not only about my sexuality, but also creativity, playfulness, aliveness, juiciness. All of that felt very quiet and far away. So I made an intentional choice to revitalize that part of me. And there literally came a day where I was like, okay, I'm ready for a hot new lover. I wasn't sure at that point because it was about 2 years after going through the divorce from my recent husband. I wasn't sure if I really was ready for a long-term partnership or if I wanted kind of an interim relationship that was really more about sexual healing and revival. So I just sort of left that up to the universe, but I called this man into my orbit who was a sexual reawakener. It was not Steve, it was someone before Steve, but he wasn't someone that I could really be with compatibility-wise for the long term. And there were significant things missing in that relationship for my heart, especially. And there were some avoidant behaviors and didn't share the same concepts of long-term vision for relationship, or nor were we on a similar spiritual path or wavelength. So that relationship ran its course, and I had broken up with that. I don't even like that phrase, break. I'd completed the arc of relationship with that particular partner. And I was going through some sadness processing that, right? I was actually on a family trip with my ex-husband, who is still my good friend, and our kids. I was literally saying to my ex, who is a friend of mine, can hold space for this kind of stuff. I said, it's weird, but I feel like I should reactivate my online profile, which is very bizarre because I'm literally fresh from this breakup, and usually people need time, to process that. But I just get this really strong intuitive feeling that there's an incredible, exactly right for me, exactly right for who I am now, man, in my aura or something, kind of there's a destiny going on here, and I'm supposed to reactivate my profile because it has to do with divine timing. And just as I was saying that to him, I looked out the window and there was a huge billboard that literally said, "Find your perfect match. Get the app." And the thing that was incredible is that it wasn't an ad. It was not an ad for any kind of dating app. It was actually an ad for a real estate company that helps you find your perfect home. And it had a picture of a house. But the words were clearly, in my mind and soul, God speaking to me. I was just saying, I feel like this crazy thing of I should reactivate my profile and move quickly because the next person, this wonderful, amazing man, is waiting for me. And just then talk about a sign from the universe. It's like God hit me over the head or over the car with this billboard. It was amazing. So my ex-husband and I cracked up laughing. We're like, oh my God, talk about a sign. So I reactivated my profile, and very soon after I manifested Steve, and we both knew who we were to each other literally even before we met. And we'll talk about that part in just a minute, but I wanted to give Steve a chance to share what it was like for him, his relationship journey, and how, he called me in and what that was like.
Hearing you talk about your path and the long road and so much time with a really, truly wonderful partner who was not physically your match. That's I understand to be with someone that you feel so many amazing things about and is really a high quality, wonderful person. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a good man. So to have you, who had such incredibly high energy sexually, not have that and have to put that down and put everything into your relationship and your kids and making money and so much that you had to do, says a lot about how much self-love you have for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and it really does say something about your knowing that your health required that as well, not just having fun. The spiritual person that you are, the woman that you are in all these other ways, that was just something missing, and you filled it in on your own, which is amazing to me. So for me, today, I'm in the best relationship I've ever been in. And I will say, just to qualify, especially in case any of my exes happen to hear any of this, believe me, I have been really fortunate. I have had some amazing women in my life. I've had some great sex in my life. I've had a lot of fun. I've had wonderful friendships. But I've made some mistakes. I have made some serious mistakes that I really feel bad that I didn't figure it out earlier. But the beauty of all this is both Sage and I went through a lot of things where we had to learn what wouldn't work for us. It's like Abraham talks about step one moments. Well, those relationships were all step one moments, which just basically means how we're learning our lessons to learn what we want from our life.
Clarity.
And learn to get everything in alignment to become the people we want to be and to have the relationships that we want to have in the future. So it defined who we were, what was missing, what we wanted in relationships, and we were both very clear. We definitely were both very clear on many things about our relationship. And, they say, be careful about what you ask for. For me, I know many times I can look back in relationships and say, boy, I really wanted really good sex in this relationship, and that was what I was focusing on because it was what was missing before that. I mean, I had some incredible sex, but there were other things missing that I did not focus on. I got a lot of what I asked for, but at the same time, I did not fully realize with like the law of attraction that I was attracting exactly what I wanted. I was not being clear on enough things to make it happen in the way that it should have. I mean, you have to be clear about what you want in your life and in your heart. I'm thinking back what was really important to me and to us on our first date. This is something really incredible to me. We chatted back and forth, and it was a pretty good period of time before we actually met. Sage had been traveling. I have a cat, and it's probably not ideal for her, but I think it's worth it. There's something that I felt really strongly about her. Seeing her picture, it brought out something very deep in me. I was not trying to put too much into it. I was just figuring, it's probably not going to happen. But deep down, I knew there was something there. My soul and my spirit felt something. There was something very strong there. When we finally talked on the phone, we both agreed that we were checking off boxes literally, we were talking about, I'm putting a check mark up here, check that off because I'd wanted that in a relationship. We're both saying the same thing, basically. We're both feeling like it's just amazing how many things we had in common. Things that we didn't really think we wanted or asked for.
Didn't know to ask
we
for.
didn't know to ask for, were showing up. It's like, how in the hell are we getting this many things that we like in common that are really important to us, and even things that were pretty subtle? We kept coming up. Yep, we like this, we like this, we like this, we like this. It's just the same thing.
It's like the fact that we're both drummers, the fact that we're both Trekkies, we're both love Star Trek. Like, we wouldn't even ask for that necessarily, but we knew to ask for what was truly our best relationship, and then we had to listen to our intuition and have the courage to go for it and trust that, So yeah,
exactly.
Love long and prosper, my love.
Yeah.
I'm holding up the fingers.
Right, the V fingers.
So the
yes.
Mr. Spock fingers. Yeah.
Yes. So on our first date, when we finally got around
let's get into that.
to meeting. Oh, and by the way, we made a comment. Said, if we meet in person and it's anything like what we're feeling here, I think we just found the person we're going to spend the rest of our lives together. I don't think we're going to be dating anybody else.
Before we even, it's literally the day before we met. We were messaging that to each other.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember you said something about a smile being surgically removed from your face. Remember that?
Yeah. I said, if that's the case, I think they're going to have to surgically remove the smile from my face when I'm buried.
So that was literally the day before we met, and I was at a music festival with two of my closest girlfriends that I've known for 30 years, and I was showing them the messages that we were messaging to each other and showing them your photography website and just sharing so much about our conversations. And one of my best friends literally just sort of like pushed my shoulder, and her like kind of like in shock, like, oh, like, what? You know, she just like pushed my shoulder and she was like, Sage, you just found your person. I was like, I know, right? I'm not overreacting here, right? Like, this is my person. She's like, yeah, he's totally your person. So this was literally the day before we met. So, but then you want to tell about our first date, right? Because it was like, exactly. I'm still reliving that first date. Like, I will relive that forever.
I know. It brings tears to my eyes thinking about it still.
Yeah.
So on our first date, we met in front of a restaurant. It actually turned out to be a closed restaurant. We were up on the stairs, and one of the things we'd done is we took a walk, and we got to this restaurant. We went up to the top of the stairs in this restaurant, and Sage had said, well, I brought some poetry with me. I stood in front of her in the stairs, a little bit lower than she was, and I asked if I could put my hand on her heart.
I thought I died and went to heaven. I swear. I was like, what? First, let me say, too, like, you woke up that morning with the thought, it's like spirit had whispered in your ear. I don't know if it was in a dream or you just woke up with the thought of you reading to me love poetry that I had written. Because, and this is what he said, you guys, he said, I want to be the one to stand behind you or sit behind you and read words of love that you've shared with others, but no one has ever shared them with you. You've never had the opportunity to receive these words of love. This was before our first date. You were given that, and I was like, this is astounding. And then you did that. You read the poem, which I'll share with you guys on the podcast in another episode what poem that was, because I know exactly what poem it was. Yeah. And then that's when you said, may I place my hand over your heart and just gaze into your eyes? And that's when I thought, oh my God, he already knows this kind of tantric, spiritual, deep, like I'm just in heaven. He already, like on the first date, he was going to this place of depth that no one had ever been capable of or willing to go that far, that deep with me, let alone that fast. He was like already at this advanced level. And anyway, I'll let you finish the rest. It was just,
Yeah, that was truly amazing. And it brought me to tears. It literally, I stood there looking into her eyes, and the thought that went through my mind is, I think this is it. I just felt like, yeah, I can do this. It's almost like looking in the mirror when I'm feeling particularly good about myself and just smiling, and I'm looking into her eyes, and it's like I've done that 1,000 times before, 1,000,000 times before.
Yeah,
it felt like completely like home. Mm-hmm. Strong sense of familiarity. So we were completely comfortable with each other. I had a tear that came down my face, and Sage leaned over to me and kissed the tear, stroked my face.
It was running down your right side of your
on the right side of my cheek. There was a single tear, and she kissed that and looked up at me lovingly. It was just beautiful.
Remember what I said? As I kissed the tear, oh, you were apologizing too. You were like, I'm sorry, I'm crying. I've just never felt this way about anyone before. And I'm just astounded. I'm in awe. I'm sorry. And I said, you don't ever have to apologize for your feelings. Please have all your feelings. I love that you have your emotions. And then the tear came down your eye. And then I said, let us always remember that this was our first kiss, me kissing this tear of our joy. That was our first kiss, was that kiss of joy and astonished awe rolling down your face. Yeah. And it's going to make us both cry just thinking about it.
So anyway, here. Thanks for listening to our mushy crap. Yeah. The reality is we're sharing this not to brag about it, but just to say this is what's possible. We both learned huge amounts earlier on, had a lot of hard lessons, did a lot of good work, had some wonderful relationships that led us to the growth and knowing what we really want to do with our lives as well. We learned within a short period of time that we both wanted to share and grow and do workshops with each other. There were so many different things that we really felt strongly about.
That's a really good point about when sacred partners are united or reunited, that often it accelerates personal growth and the sense of purpose, living our mission, because God or the universe, whatever word you want to use for that, is bringing us together for a holy purpose, for something that's greater than the two of us put together. There's a synergy. We're going to talk more about that in some future shows, about how your sacred partner can help you fulfill your purpose and the teamwork that happens with that, and how you inspire each other. And it's really, really beautiful. But Steve, you've had like a lot of relationships where you were like the healer, right? Where you have played this role for women as a conscious, compassionate man.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you. Actually, when I was working with a woman who was very psychic, she was someone who did healing work for me. It was absolutely incredible. I remember one of the sessions, I had brought in an instrument that I made, a drum that I made, and she saw this and she says, this is tuned to the heart chakra. And she commented, she says, I see how you are, and I normally don't share things. I've learned not to share things about past lives unless it's something that's stopping or blocking someone from moving forward. So her comment to me was, she saw that I had been a shaman in a past life, but I'd abused my powers. I had done something there that was traumatic to other people. And in this life, I have shunted myself, made myself wrong at times, but primarily I was not allowing myself to shine. I did not play music in front of people. I couldn't speak in front of people. I couldn't speak on the radio.
Kind of like a playing small.
Yeah,
hiding
very
your
small
gifts.
and anything, when anything ego came up, I just always pushed it down and said, oh, no, it's, there's no big deal, whatever, that sort of thing. And I got involved in working with shaman and doing other healing work and working with other people that were healers. So I helped other people. But a lot of what led up to that, before I started doing more of that, was the fact that I'd been married to a woman who had been severely abused, stuff that's so horrible you can hardly believe it ever happened.
Can't even believe that humans can do that to other humans.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
It doesn't even seem, it seemed, her mind had completely blocked it out. Yeah. But in any case, so I had a lot of practice helping her in some of her healing, primarily just for holding space for her and believing her. That was one of the main things. And, we'd be making love and she'd go out of her body.
You were helping her, you were telling me, helping her stay in her body.
Yeah.
And to feel safe to be in a body as a woman. And to be safe to be touched by a man.
Yeah.
Too.
Exactly. Yeah. And she was someone that I loved very dearly. We had a lot of love. But when it came down to what was going on with that, it was something that I learned by necessity to be compassionate and to keep my sexual needs. I would realize when there was a little shift that happened and I'd ask, hey, are you here? And she'd literally go out of her body. And so then I would shift into this caregiver mode and assist her with that. We were able to get through a lot of that. It took a long, long time. It took many years. I'd been in that helping women more than once. So I believe through my past life, my abusive power, I believe in this lifetime, I spent more than a few relationships being with women that had issues. I mean, rape and, some severe issues. We're not having healthy sex. Orgasms were kind of,
or even just receiving pleasure.
Even receiving pleasure, pretty blocked off. But it showed me
that I really was a not only sensitive person and compassionate person, but I learned empathy. I learned that I had a deep empathy because I could feel the feelings that they were having. So I've had that as something that I have done in my life over many, 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 many years, where I felt empathic. I could feel when my partner had an upset stomach, for example, or, just all kinds of things would come out. So that's a blessing and a curse. But that is something that has assisted me to become the man I am. And I'm very fortunate that I have a partner now that I don't have to practice all kinds of the skills I've had in the past, but they have served me into now. I appreciate her way more deeply than probably anybody else ever had or ever will. That I feel this gratitude that's just unbelievably deep.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank you again, too, for being the kind of man with whom women, probably all the women who've been partners to you, and even friends and family members, a lot of women in your life, that I think a lot of the awakening men, a lot of the heart-centered, kind-hearted men may find themselves in roles like that, serving as a healer, or they might even sometimes have situations where women are so wounded that they're projecting that, and that they're, thinking that it's present when it's not. And we're going to get more into those sorts of dynamics and how you can heal, different patterns as a man and as a woman in relationships. And I think I've had relationships too, not exactly the same thing, but similar in this sense, where I felt like I was the healer, or I was the teacher. I was always the one kind of like a step or 10 steps ahead of them, the one who had to be the rock, the one who had to be holding space. And I wasn't allowed to fall apart or have any weakness or be vulnerable, because I was busy holding them together, and kind of trying to shower love on them. But the fact is, no one can heal us but ourselves. We can have a great partner who holds that space, who provides that safe, trust environment, but we also have to do the work ourselves. And no matter how much someone else loves us, just showering love on someone can't heal them if they don't love themselves. If they aren't able to allow themselves to receive love, it won't really reach that level. So I think both you and I, as light workers, as healers, as not awakened but awakening, souls, got to a certain point in our evolution where we kind of chose consciously and subconsciously, like, I don't want to serve as the role of the healer anymore. I don't want to be attracting sort of wounded puppies, who are sweet people and we can see good in everyone, but I want to be with a partner who's kind of on my level, who's done a lot of the work, and who's capable of joyously giving and receiving love at a level that I'm able to give and receive love at. And I have you here now, not only a soulmate, but a body and mind and heart mate. And we want to just really convey this, not just as a couple who's living it and loving it, but to help show some of you guys on the path, like if we can make your path a little easier, a little smoother, because we sometimes learn things the hard way, and we're later in life. It took us this long to get to this level of connection and compassion and consciousness.
Yes.
But you don't have to wait till your 50s or 60s, or it could be at any age, really, but it's about the level of healing and development and intention and your energy and your alignment. And these things are so essential. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to manifest my mate. There's so much more to it than that. And I just want to give a thanks and a shout out again to all of you who are on this path, who are looking at love and looking at your lives and saying, I deserve bliss, I deserve peace, I deserve harmony. It's not too much to ask that you have harmony and compassion and really being with someone who sees you and hears you and cherishes you and respects you and really adores you. You can absolutely have that. And they're not going to be a perfect human being, because none of us are, even though we're all perfectly lovable, We're perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect. But someone who is a right match for you. Instead of triggering each other, you actually bring out the best in each other. You elevate and enhance each other. And this is sacred partnership, and it is real, and it is yours for the having if you and when you do what you need to do, and you just really become all of who you really are and shine that beautiful light that you are in the world. And that's one of the things I love so much about co-creating with you, Steve, and with all of our community here that we're really developing now, which is so wonderful, is that we are committed with all of you collectively in raising the level of love and compassion and the vibration on the whole planet that helps us bring together this intention and this energy as the love that we are, so that we can really live as compassion-driven human beings with open hearts. And, paying attention to the energy and the intention is so important. And I know that brings us back to law of attraction, which we're going to be talking about, as well as a lot of the other spiritual laws that people don't talk about very much. But Steve, one of the things that really drew me when I read your profile is that you specifically said in there that you wanted a partner who actively practices law of attraction. And I was like, ooh, pick me. It's like, hello. I think a lot of times people think they're going to be happy when they're in a better relationship, or when their relationship improves, or when they find their right soulmate, or when they fill in the blank. And we can choose to feel that joy and do quite a lot toward raising our vibration now. And thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today, this evening, and spending this time with us on the Sexy and Sacred Show. And please come connect with us more at our growing Facebook community, Your Sexy and Sacred Community on Facebook. And by the way, thank you to everyone, too, for leaving us reviews. What we're going to be doing is, especially during our launch period, but even after that, periodically, intuitively selecting people who wrote from their own heart, any kind of like beautiful, glowing 5-star review, whatever you want to say from your heart. We're going to be picking people and just giving you an Amazon $20 gift card. Thank you for the opportunity to share some abundance with you in a way of thanking you for thanking us. And it's just this positive spiral that just kind of keeps going, and more love and gratitude. In our next shows, we're going to be getting even juicier. We're going to be diving next time into sex magic and the magic of sex. And that might not be exactly what you think it is, because no cauldrons or potions are required. We're also going to be exploring how to magnetize and nurture higher love. And we're going to be discussing some myths and truths about soulmates.
Sage and I are sending love vibes across time and space right here, right now. You get to receive beautiful energy of love in all the ways that you need.
So breathe that in. And often in our shows, we're going to have a hot tip or an experiential exercise, or a hot experiential exercise. So, and this is for everybody, for singles, for couples, and don't just think about it. Take a moment to actually do it. Do it in your own way. And today's hot tip is to do conscious love breathing throughout the day. In the morning, in the evening, you can start your day with a few conscious breaths of love and gratitude. If you like, you can place your hand over your heart. You can place your hand over your beloved's heart too. Or if your beloved isn't here yet, or is in another room, or sleeping still, or whatever, you can work with their highest self. Wow, more about that coming soon. Yeah. So breathe that love into your heart, beam it out, radiate love and gratitude, and really turn your breath into a portal for love and gratitude. So let's do a little bit more of this love breathing together. Go ahead and breathe love in, and breathe gratitude out. And breathe joy in. And breathe compassion out. And smile. give yourself a hug, knowing all is well. And remember, love is who you are.
Thanks for being part of our growing community at the Sexy and Sacred Show. Please share the love, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and catch us next time at your favorite podcast platform. Until then, remember, you are sexy and you are sacred.